Right, so good morning, everyone. Nice to see a good attendance here. I guess some of this collateral you're going to have seen, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper than what Joe did earlier. So we're just going to go really a high level on VCF itself as a platform. Obviously, there's a lot of breakout sessions today. Choose your flavor of what you're interested in, but it's really going to give you a bird's eye view of that whole portfolio and what comes in the platform. So my name's Amit Panchal. I work for Broadcom. I'm one of the solution engineers there. And I've been a community member for over a decade now. And as you'll see there, vExpert for many years as well. So yeah, happy to help or someone to reach out to as well. My Twitter handle's on there as well. Standard disclaimer, lots in there. Basically, summary of this is that things are subject to change, especially when I'm talking about VCF 9. But other than that, you know, 5.2 is cemented, available now, GA, so hopefully there'll be a lot of things you can take away from this. So again, as Joe talked about, VMware Cloud Foundation, what is the purpose, what's the mission, why VCF? Essentially, that is it in a nutshell, is to deliver you a private cloud that's built on innovation and things to accelerate your business value, right? Because ultimately, you guys are running the nuts and bolts of your infrastructure. There's people above you, stakeholders that want to innovate fast. And this is really the only de facto on-premises platform that can help you in that journey. So again, Joe touched on this earlier. What is making people think about VMware Cloud Foundation as a platform where they can move forward with their infrastructure and not just do vSphere anymore? Three main areas. Again, a lot of this is driven by public cloud and reducing expenditure, cost, complexity, and compliance always. Those are the most talked about areas that a lot of customers will talk to us about in terms of things that they're trying to reduce, things that they're trying to be confident on in the compliance and governance space. But also complexity, right? Because we talked about those pillars being compute, storage, networking, and security. Trying to reduce that complexity down is something that VMware has been doing for well over a decade. And guess what? Our customers aren't there yet. We still run into these big customers that have all these discrete silos and are looking to collapse that down, whether it's a small team, whether it's just a complex change management regime. They're all looking to achieve some of these outcomes here that you see on the slide. So it really is about delivering that platform that helps you on that journey to achieve some of these outcomes. So when you think of VCF, we're thinking of that experience that you can gain as IT administrators, operators, but that you can also offer your stakeholders, lines of business, people that interact with the platform, people that might be an end user coming into the platform from some self-service mechanism. And it is really about that innovation, giving you that integrated experience, right? Because we're not talking about offering you a product experience anymore. We're talking about delivering a curated experience. And Joe talked about this in the session just now. It's around two main areas in terms of Cloud Foundation. It's the build, operate, and consume. So the nuts and bolts of what you do in the data center. And then how do you offer that to your lines of business, your developers, the people that are asking for you for workloads right now, not in 6 months' time, not in 6 weeks' time, right now. Advanced services is obviously the layer above that. So where can you see the value to your organization in adopting some of those advanced services? And the reason that we've done that is because we know not everyone has these choices to make. You may have some vendors that you're perfectly happy with, but we've also got customers that really are looking for ways to cost save. So how can we replace some of those technologies above in the advanced services layer with some of the capabilities that we already have under the same umbrella of Broadcom? So things that we've innovated on in this new release, and when I talk about new release, the product I'm talking about is VCF 5.2. So as you can see here, live patching, which Joe talked about, it's here today. It's here with 5.2. You don't need to wait for VCF 9. Hence, he said, now's the time to get on that train. You don't need to wait. So the independent TKG service, again, Tanzu Kubernetes Grid, which was basically our cloud native platform baked into vSphere. Again, that's got a new name as well, which you'll see on a later slide, so I'll touch on that, and then enhanced GPU support. So giving you some of this ability now means you can go back to your security teams, change management teams, and say, look, we've managed to do this. We now can live patch things. We can now offer this increased double workload performance on GPUs. Storage. I know we have a lot of customers that are still using all flash, that are using hybrid storage arrays. But again, vSAN has been out there for a long time now. It's very mature as a hyper-converged infrastructure layer, a software-defined storage layer. So you can take advantage of these features as well. I think the key ones here that I want to touch on are the data protection, the snapshotting capability, and the stretch cluster to offer you that high availability. Also, ESA, right? Because vSAN used to be a mixture of spinning disks and flash. By default now, we always say if you can go all flash, then deploy the ESA technology, because really you don't need to think about disk pools, disk capacities. How do you carve up disks in your server nodes? So again, some of the advantages are here around vSAN. And then lastly, networking. Joe touched on virtual private clouds, VPCs. So the ability to then segment within your clusters, within your VCF platform itself, and give that real tight guardrail experience when it comes to a networking construct. And then obviously we got DPUs. Joe referred to XPUs, but DPUs being another construct that you can actually deploy inside the server, where you can offload some of that CPU performance. So the core platform. 5.2 essentially is that platform there, compute, storage, and networking. And the reason why we've done it is to appeal to these main benefits here. It's about modernization always. It has been for the last 15, 20 years. Everyone wants to make life simpler. That's really what VCF's mission is. Giving that cloud experience to your developers, no longer having this separate piece of hardware that someone's told you to go and build, go and buy, and then you go and feed and water it. We offer that now within VCF. And the security and resilience is de facto. You have to have it no matter what. If someone's not asking for it today, they're going to tap on your shoulder and ask for it tomorrow or the week after and say, how are you doing this? Is this secure? Does this meet ISO regulation? Is it adhering to Sarbanes-Oxley perhaps? Well, VCF has taken that all on board, and it is offered by default. So what's in the box? Ultimately, it comes down to a few pillars here. Quite a busy slide, but essentially we've touched on the key layers of the software-defined data center in the middle there. Lifecycle management. Again, Joe referred to it as our fleet management capabilities, but it really is what everyone's asking for. How can we make this a lot simpler? Gone are the days of using vSphere Update Manager to keep everything up to date, and now we offer the capability within the VCF platform. And then over there on the left-hand side is about automation, operations, and giving that constant value back and showcasing that back to your management, back to the director of IT, and then feeding that back up the chain to the lines of business. So what are the key features? What are the new things that 5.2 has brought along? We talked about the live patching over there. Dual DPU support, another good one. We had support for one DPU. Now we offer that capability of having two inside the server. The TKG service, as I touched on, now a bit rebranded. You'll see that on a later slide, of course. But over here, something I'm going to touch on next is around the capability of not having a greenfield foundation layer set up. So no longer needing to buy a new set of hardware and start from scratch. And VMware Cloud Foundation Edge for those edge workloads, the small footprint, small servers where you need that kind of VCF experience, but in a smaller site. So let's talk a bit about the new capability that 5.2 brings in terms of the term, which we loosely use, brownfield ingestion. So before you had to stand up a new set of servers, call it a management domain, to stand up VCF. Today, we offer you the ability to convert pools of your own vSphere infrastructure, deploy SDDC manager on that, and then create a VCF construct from that. So no longer do you need to stand up brand new bare metal hardware and install all the bits and bytes for VCF. So you have the convert. And once you've done that convert, you can then import existing infrastructure islands into that VMware Cloud Foundation setup. And then lastly, synchronization, keeping everything in that same config. We saw the touching on the config drift. Well, we want you to make sure you're staying in sync with all of those islands that you've brought into VCF. So this is really what is fueling that, and you'll see more to come in VCF 9, by the way, in terms of making it simpler. It's about reducing the startup costs and really making sure your deployment starts simple and quick and is frictionless. Now, there's a lot of caveats on this right now in VCF 5.2. I'm not going to go through each one by one. This is all out there on the internet. But you've got to align to certain HCLs, certain bill of materials, before you're able to actually use the import facility. And then the common requirements are down to storage, right? Because vSAN is still required in the management layer, but then we have the capability of stretching to other islands of storage. So you don't have to rip and replace your existing storage as well. So again, this is a snapshot from a public-facing document that is out there in terms of the configurations not supported for converting and importing in 5.2.x right now. There's a long list there on the left-hand side. So today you'll see that, but as we release VCF 9 next year, that list is going to shrink down. But these are just things to be mindful of now if you're actually going to be deploying VCF 5.2. So I talked about TKG earlier on, and I talked about the developer experience. Here you'll see vSphere Kubernetes service. Now think of VKS as the new name for that TKG experience that I referred to earlier on. But really, those are the services that we're offering over and above the platform. So everything from the vSphere supervisor downwards is the core platform. Everything above it is down to automation operations, and the layer above it is the business value layer. That's the value that your stakeholders are interested in, that they'll be coming to you around. How do I deploy my analytics workloads? How do I get my AI workloads stood up? How can I avoid public cloud costs? And how can I get governance security wrapped in so I don't need to worry about that as an afterthought? So as Joe touched on, VCF networking has changed a lot in VMware Cloud Foundation. And now what it is you'll get NSX baked into the VCF platform. But on the left-hand side there, moving across in the advanced services area, you'll see things like vDefend, our new naming for our advanced networking and security. So we now offer that as an option. So not all customers want the features such as advanced threat prevention, that want the microsegmentation via the distributed firewall. So again, those are options, as are the options that are on there as well. You may think, why is vSAN, by the way, on the advanced services as well? It's for those customers that need more storage, because we will offer that 1 terabyte per storage for purchasing VMware Cloud Foundation, but there are some customers that exceed that, and so you can buy that as an add-on supplement there. And NSX is really only available through VCF now. So we used to have the old days of having the standard, advanced, enterprise, all the choices you could get for every product. it's now one flavor of every product. Enterprise only, all in VCF. You don't need to pick and choose. So Network Insight was another product that customers often use to get that end-to-end visibility. We now call that ARI Operations for Networks, a bit of rebranding, and we will probably rebrand it again, to be fair. But really, this was about giving that visibility, and this is baked into the Cloud Foundation platform. A lot of customers I've talked to really can't do without this application. Offering this deep visibility into packet flow from a physical host to a network switch down to the vSphere layer is very, very powerful in building those advanced topologies. Well, now that's not a license, that is part of the platform. So when you buy VCF, you get ARI Operations for Networks. Also HCX. So as Joe depicted on his slide earlier, workload mobility is very, very important to our customers. And we know that not all customers have just an on-premises footprint. They may be using one of our hybrid flavors of VMware Cloud Foundation, be it Google Cloud VMware Engine, be it Azure VMware Solution, or VMC on AWS. So being able to port those workloads around and not change the security constructs is really important. And HCX has been there for a number of years, but still customers don't know it's part of the portfolio and they actually own it now as part of VMware Cloud Foundation. So having bulk migration, being able to take a weekend and say, I want to move 50, 100 VMs in one hit to perhaps Azure VMware Solution, it's really powerful, right? You can't do that when you're moving to public cloud native. So again, it's another way of doing something and demonstrating back to the business how you can offer choice, flexibility, and the ability to move workloads. So vSAN, talking about the storage layer, it's important that really dial in on this. Now, I know Duncan's doing another session right now, but all the material will be available for both sessions. But I just wanted to give it some clarity here that vSAN is baked into VMware Cloud Foundation. So you get that terabyte per core as your allocation when you buy VCF. And again, we've just built on all of this, right? So vSAN started in the early days as just offering that software-defined storage layer, not with all the capabilities that you can see here on the slide today. And so we have really made sure that year by year, we've made advanced storage measures on the vSAN platform. We want to catch up with those primary storage vendors. We don't offer every feature that you may be using right now from your primary storage vendor, but we pretty much get close, right? So those are some of the features that we've got in 5.2 today. And then we have ways of consuming vSAN. So in the early days, it really was about hyperconverged infrastructure and nothing else. If you scale compute, you have to scale storage along with it, and there are no other options. Today, we offer disaggregated storage options. So you'll see on here, vSAN Max clusters. So again, the way of having remote storage presented back to VMware Cloud Foundation as a storage pool. You don't need to fill it up with a lot of compute. You're just offering disks back to your Cloud Foundation platform. And then again, ESA. ESA is really the way to go now if you're deploying this from scratch and moving from OSA to ESA and taking advantage of all flash is the way forward now for the market. And what can you achieve? You can achieve some of the things on here, right? About being adaptable, being predictable, scalable, offering performance that is almost on par with your primary flash storage vendors as well. Reducing those operational costs, because often we think about a storage layer. We never think about, actually, what's the maintenance for that? How many storage admins does it take to actually operate that? How many change requests do I need to get on to provision a workload and then take advantage of a data store presented elsewhere? So it is about reducing that. And then often presenting that data protection as another nice to have is something new now. So you can actually say, we have the capability to offer snapshots and we can present them back to end users. I'll just build this slide out just to really give you an idea of what you can do in your own data center. You can present now all these types of volumes and data stores back to your VMs, essentially. It is a choice unlike anything that we've ever seen before. Starting, from HCI, we talked about vSAN, but also taking advantage of NFS, fiber channel, every type of storage that you'll probably already have deployed in your data center. Now, we touched on data services just now, really at a high level, but DSM, Data Services Manager, is really giving you the capability to have those open source databases, such as Progress, such as NoSQL, and giving it the enterprise wrapper. So you get support from us at the first instance, but you also get lifecycle management, the ability to bring up databases and then bring them down, all within the VCF construct. So again, very new for us. And updates, patching, the favorite topic that we've always been looking at and constantly innovating on over years. How can we reduce the downtime windows? How can we make it a lot simpler? And it is really about ticking all these items as we go from VCF 5.2 to VCF 9. And this is often the headache of a standard vSphere administrator. I've got to work out dependencies. I've got to patch this, but now I've got to know what version relies on that. And then you'll see this kind of spaghetti junction here of how do I know what I'm going to do in what stepping stone order? Well, VCF makes that a lot simpler now. We give you that SDDC manager update bundle, and we say, hey, if you want to apply it to one workload domain, apply it. If you want to apply it to all workload domains, apply it. So you now have that one bundle, and you can go out and say, stage it, remediate, update, and patch. It's about following this constant lifecycle management circle, I like to say. So update bundle is released here. Again, you get the notification within the console. You then say, actually, let me look at what that includes. Let me review the release notes. And then you can say, right, it's going to do the pre-check. Off you go. Let me see if everything's in a healthy state. And then let's go out and schedule that. Whether you schedule it in your own business hours or schedule it in the weekends, up to you. You may have your set windows. And now give me a report at the end. Say, what did you go off and do? What did you update? Just in case you need to show it back to someone within the business. And that's it. It's basically that iterative cycle over and over again. Some of the things that customers have been screaming out for that VCF never had and now does are things around password rotation, right? We had a cumbersome way of doing that before where passwords were fixed or passwords couldn't be changed and you had to use a third-party product to do that. Now it's part of the platform. Certificate management, because as Joe touched on earlier, a lot of things rely on certificates, especially just inside this VMware lifecycle. So you need to be on top of it and you need to be able to see it all in a color-coded fashion. Again, part of the platform. And then things that you expect, backup and restore of the SDDC manager and API integration into your own tool sets, into your own other ecosystem vendors as well. So it's really about your own cloud journey. Everyone's in a different place. How you build it, how you create it, how you present it back, that's down to you. We're just giving you the platform to be able to do it according to your destiny. So just quickly doing a quick sidestep onto advanced services, because it's very important that we highlight these as well. How can we enhance that core platform to bring more services rich and native to that VMware ecosystem? And these are the core areas that we're focused on right now. Private AI being the most talked about, because what would be a conversation without AI in a day, right? You have those. People ask you, you go out on the internet, everything's about AI. So we have to offer that. And that's with our partnership with NVIDIA. And then those other areas such as data services that I touched on, advanced security, load balancing, etc. So again, that's the private AI slide that Joe touched on. It's about offering you the created experience in that VMware Cloud Foundation layer, and then giving you on top the NVIDIA offerings. Now, again, that is an NVIDIA AI Enterprise software layer. So again, that is purchased from NVIDIA, but it's in conjunction with us. So you would come to us, and then we would actually curate that bundle and work with NVIDIA to deliver that. Cyber resiliency, right? Ransomware. Joe touched on it earlier. VMware Live Recovery. So again, this is about how do we secure and defend against those threat actors that want to compromise you? And they will one day, we know that. So offering you those VMware native services, such as Live Recovery, such as hardening, east-west firewalling, those are the things that are now captured in add-ons. So again, you can choose to go on that journey. You can choose to weigh it up against your existing offerings, and you can see exactly how we differentiate, both in terms of feature set or in terms of price. And that unified protection changes. So you'll see over the coming months, as Joe touched on earlier, going from the cloud to offering those on-premises capabilities is really something that our customers are screaming to us about. And that's why we're investing dollars in offering that. Site Recovery Manager, which some of you may use, was kind of our first stepping stone into disaster recovery. A great product with automation, orchestrated workflows. But this then takes isolated recovery to the next stepping stone, giving you a choice to not only doing it in Google, not only doing it in AWS, but then also offering it next year into your own on-premises environment. And then Avi Load Balancer. This doesn't get enough airtime, right? So I made sure it was here today, because week to week I'm having a conversation on what are you using today? We're using other vendors' capabilities. Costs are spiraling up. We have hardware load balancers today. Well, what if you could offer that in software, and what if it was a lot easier to use, consume, operate, and also had the agility as well, wrapped by a small commercial framework as well. This is another area that is untapped. It's an area that really, we've got a session, I think, today as well. So if you're interested in that, or people within your organizations, I'd highly encourage you to go along to that. But as you can see here, we offer every capability under the sun. And then those capabilities that Joe touched on right at the end. There's a lot on here, right, to get your heads around. But every one of these areas has a sticking point with a customer. It may not be where you are today in your current organization. It may be where you go to in your next company as well. But it's always useful to know that VMware Cloud Foundation has this wrapper around it, where we offer all these different services, be it on the developer side, the edge side, the automation, orchestration side. We have all of those capabilities there. And something, again, that I'm talking to a lot of my customers about most recently are in the Tanzu space, right? Taking advantage of in-memory acceleration, things like Gemfire, Greenplum, RabbitMQ, all areas that often IT admins don't really get involved in, but often someone in the application space is using an application in that space. So again, keywords to look out for. So VMware Cloud Foundation is really that platform, right? That software-defined data center, as Joe talks about it. I talk about it as the operating system, the virtualized operating system for the data center. And we can offer that everywhere. As you can see on this slide, it isn't just focused on-premises. It's focused in all of those other areas that you may be already doing business in already. So you can consume it everywhere. And another key part is license portability. So often I'm running into conversations around, what if I can take my licenses with me? Because I don't know my 2-year strategy yet. I don't know my 5-year strategy. We've got a new CTO. They're changing things, and it changes all the time. So if you can take your Cloud Foundation license to the cloud, well, hey, that's a great stepping stone to actually exiting from a data center, for example. So let's talk about futures. VCF 9. Joe said next year, early next year is when we're going to release it. We haven't got any hard date on it yet. But it's about taking VMware Cloud Foundation and giving it that real unified, consistent approach. The thing that we've been working on for many years and we're now seeing in reality under the Broadcom umbrella. So again, it is about bringing all of these services that you saw right at the beginning of the presentation, but just making it easier to deploy. And I would say deployment is probably one of the key areas that we've struggled to deliver as a company. So making that a lot simpler to say, actually, we're now baking automation, operations, everything within the deployment's lifecycle makes that a lot easier for you guys to actually get on and do it. I don't have to deploy appliances. I don't need to size, small tier, mid tier, maximum tier. You have to often open up a lot of documents, a lot of KB articles, just to deploy all these individual products that you're using today. Well, VCF 9 makes that a lot simpler with a guided workflow where you can just get on and deploy these products. Some of the new planned innovation, again, that Joe touched on earlier, and this really brings it into a lot more detail around compute, storage, and networking and what we're going to be innovating on next year. So advanced memory tiering being a really great use case to really, really condense down even more the amount of workloads that you can offer on that footprint of a one or 2 years, 2U server. Confidential computing, vSphere Kubernetes service, via virtual private clouds there as well. Another key thing right at the top here, sovereign VCF multi-tenancy. Being able to offer that with the guarantee that you're within the UK, right? And offering that sovereignty back to your stakeholders to say, actually that workload isn't gonna be somewhere I don't know, or it's not gonna be in a data center outside the UK. Giving that with the VCF construct. All this and a lot more really, as you see VCF 9 move on to 9.1, 9.2, etc. and onwards. And that unified interface, by the way, is where you're gonna hit your home screen every time you head into VMware Cloud Foundation. And Joe really showed you that high-level picture of all the spinny dials, all the nice color coding that we've got. And this will be your dashboard. That dashboard you're going to come into, you're going to see the health of your environment. You're going to see compliance. You're going to see security. All those features as well that you saw in Skyline, for those that use Skyline, they're all going to be shown in this VCF dashboard. So you don't need to go anywhere else in terms of what console do I open, what UI, what's the website for operations, for automation, because it's all going to be in this central dashboard. So bringing it back, these services are the services that are going to continue to run throughout next year and beyond. There'll be new services, right? This is just a point in time representation of where we are today. Look out for new things that are getting added to this slide, because they are going to come on thick and fast as well. As we get feedback from our customers, we are going to be innovating and adding to this slide. So this again was announced at VMware Explore, and this is the direction that we're heading. And there's a lot of robust, rich services in there that you can go off and explore today. So again, it wouldn't be justice if I didn't talk about the smarter way to cloud. Again, you'll see that in a lot of marketing. I had to have it here. But it really is about not that cloud first mantra anymore, not that public cloud first. It's the smart way. What is this framework? What is our direction as an organization? And really, how does that apply to what I'm rolling out today? And how can I get everyone on board a lot quicker and get everyone sold on Cloud Foundation a lot quicker? Delivering that secure platform, that modern experience, and an experience that is going to cater to all your lines of business. So thank you for your attention. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Any questions? Just while we've got some time.